San Diego District Attorney's Office is working to keep a convicted cop killer behind bars. Jesus Cesena was 17 years old when he shot and killed Officer Archie Buggs back in 1978.
And because of a new law, Cesena is now eligible for youth offender parole because at that time he was 17. The partner of Archie Buggs, Jesse Navarro, has been very vocal about keeping this man behind bars.
When your partner, your best friend dies, it doesn't matter whether it's me or any other police officer or any other person, you're always going to say to yourself, what else could I have done?
District Attorney Bonnie Dumanis joins us now with more on this case.
Good morning, Bonnie.
Good morning.
This is really difficult to understand why this man continues to come up for parole.
Right.
Why does he keep coming up for parole?
Well, he was convicted in 1978 and actually sentenced in 1979. And at that time, because it was a premeditated murder of a police officer, the sentence was life without possibility of parole. But in 1982, so then he didn't come up for parole during that time. 1982, the law changed and said you have to look at, because somebody's a juvenile, look at all the circumstances. And it was changed to 7 years to life. So that meant that after the 7 years, he came up for parole. And each time you come up for a parole hearing, the parole board makes a decision on if they deny it, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, up to 15 years. And so he's had, up till now, 13 times that he's come up for parole and been denied parole. Last time, in 2014, he was granted parole by the parole board, but the governor has the ultimate say, and we all in San Diego County reached out to the governor, Shelley Zimmerman, the chief, last year, myself, the sheriff, we wrote letters, the San Diego POA, and community members, and said, Governor, please don't release this. And so he denied it. So now they're up again. He's up again for a parole hearing, and that's going to be tomorrow, and I'll be going up to that.
I want to know, let's go back to the 80s. Why was that law changed? What was the impetus for that?
It was because they found that under 18, they felt that it was cruel and unusual, basically, for just a blanket life without possibility of parole. So now they more or less leave it to judges to go back to those sentences and look at what the sentence could be and remove the life without possibility of parole.
Let's talk about why he was granted parole. This man who shot and killed Archie Buggs. Why was he granted parole? Was it because the parole board felt that he had rehabilitated himself? Why?
Well, in the hearing, here's what happened. It's almost like a court hearing, okay? Yeah. We have the opportunity. Richard Sachs does a fabulous job, Deputy DA. He goes up there. Family members are allowed to go up there as well. The defendant gets to present. He has a lawyer. And what they look at, the parole board looks at in terms of the defendant is, did he get any treatment? Has he changed? Has he accepted responsibility? How's he behaved in prison? Those kinds of things. And from the prosecutor's point of view, this is the impact to the victims, the impact to the community, the message behind it, and looking at all those things and saying, he really didn't change. He really hasn't accepted responsibility. So the parole board did find, though, that he had done some things in prison, and so parole. But our comments to the governor were, he's never really accepted full responsibility for executing this police officer. He got out of his car. He shot 5 times. Then he went, the officer's down on the ground, he goes over, points the gun at his head, point blank, shoots him, executes him, and he minimizes all of that.
And that's really the outrageous part of all of this, is that somehow that's escaped the parole board in that last hearing, and how that managed to get to the point, which is why you're making an effort to go there yourself to make the argument.
Exactly.
Am I right?
After last time, nobody thought the parole board would do this. So, yes, I'm going there because I think being the district attorney of the county of San Diego, where everybody was impacted by this. I was here in 1978. I was just a brand new deputy DA then, and I remember this well. And Jesse Navarro, who now works for us, was a police officer and was there when he died. This is something, an African-American police officer. Can you imagine in 1978 there weren't too many African-American police officers, and this kind of execution, and you have somebody who was a gang member who never has really fully accepted responsibility or remorse. And for the beginning parts of his time in prison, his behavior was very disruptive. He hasn't had too much in terms of discipline and bad behavior in the past few years, but he's never fully accepted responsibility. And he served all this time in prison, and I think he's a danger to the public and the community if released.
And I imagine that's exactly what you're going to tell the parole board. Basically,
well,
you're going to give them
Richard Sachs will do the argument. I'm there as a representative of the family. They've asked, and Jesse represents the family too. Marilyn Buggs, who is Archie's sister, is who I'll be there representing. But I think it sends a message to say when I'll be there, Ben Kelso, the president of the Black Peace Officers Association, will be there, and Jesse, so that there are cases to be seen by the parole board, not just the defendant who's sitting there. They tend to look at this person and say, you know, long time's passed. They need to understand the full impact of this very vicious, calculated, cruel act on a police officer that I think, you know, normally, if it's an adult, we would be going death penalty on that kind of case. And that's why we went life without possibility of parole. And now we've even lessened that. So it's an important message, I think.
So again, you're going when?
We're going, leave tonight, go tomorrow. It'll probably be about a 3-hour hearing. And then they actually deliberate. Right then and there, they leave and deliberate, and they come back and they let us know what the answer is. But I tell you, if they grant parole again, we'll be at the governor's door again, because this community, when called upon for action, has come forward. Not just law enforcement. I'm talking about community members who knew that, and right now they're trying to get the school Robert E. Lee changed to Archie Buggs because he was 30 years old, a stellar individual.
At the beginning of his career.
Right.
Yeah, just horrific.
All right. Well, we, of course, will be following your trip up there.
Well, thank you.
Let's hope that the parole board sees your point of view.
Right. And we're coming up with lots of letters from lots of people, including Chief Zimmerman, myself, and all of law enforcement.
Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.